Hello folks, I'm Jake and this is a short update to a tutorial series I posted earlier this year. Hello to anyone that has watched those videos or has since subscribed. In this series I showed you how to begin writing GLSL shaders for Synesthesia using a code editor called Atom Editor. Unfortunately, as of this video, Atom is being sunsetted, which means it's simply being archived and support for it will be dropped. So this news does mean changes for my tutorial series, and it will be unlikely you can use Atom to write your code. Let's quickly discuss options to get you back to work. The first option will be to adopt another code editor. Atom was free, easy to use and supports a wide range of toolsets, so let's look for an alternative. My suggestion would be Visual Studio Code. The second option is that you can now write your shaders directly in Synesthesia in the latest update using the built-in code editor. I'll be releasing a new tutorial series looking at this soon. For now, I'll show you a quick overview of Visual Studio Code. Visual Studio Code is a free code text editor, and we can install a wide range of packages to support specific languages much like Atom Editor. Heading to the website at code.visualstudio.com, if we head to the bottom of the page we can see that you can install it on your machine and it supports Windows, Linux and Mac. You can install the software using the application installer or as the zip file if you want to run a portable version. Just before we get into it, you can also run Visual Studio Code in your browser. You can access this web version through the home page or by going to vscode.dev. I'm going to stick with downloading and installing the software locally so we can customize it and save any changes we make. Run the installer and then launch Visual Studio Code. Now with Visual Studio Code downloaded and installed, let's have a quick look at the user interface and then create support for GLSL. Along the top we have the menu system, so file and edit, pretty much standard in most software packages. Top right we have work panes or workspaces buttons. Those allow us to change how our software actually looks, so whether we want this little bar on the left to be on the right or at the bottom, up to you how you have it. I'm going to leave it at default. Along the left we have a couple of different functions that we can access. So the top icon, two pages stuck together, this is the Explorer. So when you start creating folders and file structures, that's where you can quickly access and change what file you're looking at and what folder you're actually looking in. The magnifying glass is the search function, so you might eventually need to search through your code, find a particular function or word or even a number and change it. So using the search function you can very quickly do that. And the last one is the extensions tab, and this is the one that we're most interested in for now. Before we begin writing our code, we'll need to install extensions that will help us highlight the specific functions we use when writing the GLSL. Visual Studio Code supports lots of different code formats by default, but to utilize GLSL we'll need to go through extensions. So as I've just showed you, we can access extensions by clicking on the 4-pane icon, or you can use the shortcut Control Shift and X. This will also open up this tab. In the search bar we're going to type in GLSL and we're looking for two packages. Firstly we'll click install on the WebGL GLSL editor. This provides the support and highlighting for GLSL code. The second extension to install is GLSL Canvas, and this extension is going to give us a preview of the shader as we write it. Let's do some basic GLSL code in the software to check that it's working. So I'm going to get rid of the extensions tab because I've installed everything we need to for now. This main view here is where you're going to begin to write your code. Now at the minute we've got our extensions kind of still open. So if we click on the X just to get rid of it, we go back to this blank space. So to create a new file, we're going to click on File and go to New File, or you can use the shortcut Control Alt Windows and N or Control N. Either way it will create you a new file. It will ask us to name the file or specify the file format. I'm going to write main.glsl and then press enter. The File Explorer will open, asking us to specify the location of the file. So double check the name of your file at this point, and you may need to re-add that GLSL extension at the end. So in this case I need to add it after my main. And then click create file. To start our GLSL code, we will first need to write precision medium p float semicolon. This line tells our system, specifically the GPU, how much precision we want our shader to utilise. We can change the medium P for medium precision to high P for high or low P for low. Generally, setting it as medium is enough. If you need more precision, then you may want to use high P, but not all systems may support this. Importantly, without this line at the beginning, we're not going to be able to run the GLSL code in the preview. Below this, we're going to write void main, open and close brackets, and then open and close curly brackets, and I'm going to give a couple of line spaces in the middle of the curly brackets. So this line is going to start our shader, and void main simply creates an empty function which we can then fill with our code, hence why I created those empty spaces within the curly brackets, because that's where we're going to begin to write our actual functions. So within this, I'm now going to write a function that is going to display our shader. So it's basically the output line. And we'll begin by writing GL underscore frag color equals vec4 open and close brackets ending with a semicolon, and we'll leave the brackets empty for now. This defines what we want to see in our fragment shader, basically outputting colors on our canvas. To test this code is working, we'll need to draw something to view, so we'll start basic with a simple solid color. Above our G underscore frag color, we will write vec3 color equals vec3 open and close brackets ending with a semicolon. The values within the vec3 brackets refer to R, G and B pixel values, which means we can define a color using 3 floating point values. So in the vec3 brackets, we will put 1, 0, 1. This will give us the color magenta. You will notice that Visual Studio Code will attach a label to each vector. This should help you to isolate the 3 values within this. A nice feature that we didn't see in Atom is this little color box before the vec3. And if we click on this box, we can actually specify a specific color. So we don't have to go through any converters trying to work out hex to floating point or normalized decimal point. This just lets us do it and pick a color specifically. I'm going to leave it at 1, 0, 1. Back to the vec4 brackets further down. A vec4 is similar to a vec3 where it takes floating points with the first 3 relating to R, G and B, but vec4 takes a 4th floating point which represents an alpha channel, so transparency or opacity. We can write in the vec4 brackets 1, 0, 1, 1, with the final number 0 equals fully transparent and 1 equals fully opaque. So we're going to write 1 so we can actually see our color. Or we can replace the first 3 values with the recently defined color. So therefore our vec4, which is what we're going to be displaying, is taking the information from the vec3 color, as we defined earlier as magenta, and including that additional 1, make sure we can see it because it's now fully opaque. Now we've written a basic solid color, we can now use the GLSL canvas to check how it's looking. We first need to open up the commands tab, which lets us run functions and programs. Use Ctrl-Shift-P to open this up. In the search box, we'll look for Show GLSL Canvas and click on the Show GLSL Canvas command. This will open up your GLSL preview in a pane, and there we have a solid color written and viewed in GLSL. We can also edit the vec3 color to something else, and the viewport will update in real time. It's a bit of a pain that when we want to open the GLSL preview, we have to search for the right command in the right command tab. Instead, we'll reopen the command tab with Ctrl-Shift-P, looking for the Show GLSL Canvas, and we'll click on the cog icon to the right of the command. This cog allows us to set and edit key bindings, so we can apply our own specific shortcut to this command. Click on the plus icon, and we can press the keys we want to use to run this command. If the shortcut is already assigned to another function, you'll be notified below of the possible conflict. I'm going to use Shift Alt P as it is unused, and to me that represents preview. At this point, make sure you've saved your file. If you want to follow the tutorial series, you can now use Visual Studio Code to do this. Just make sure you download the two extensions, WebGL GLSL Editor and GLSL Canvas, and of course make sure you add the line precision medium p float semicolon at the beginning of your GLSL code. Other than that, I'll hopefully see you soon with a new tutorial series utilising Synesthesia's inbuilt code editor. So do consider subscribing to see it as soon as I release it publicly.